being next to him, and will be alone in spite of being among the great masses of humankind. The standing rules and regulations and the laws of honor will be forgotten as though never having existed. But also the ancient proclamation will be forgotten that the human being is able to turn into a savage again should he forget all human values and all the values related to life. And with the coming of the prophet of the new time, fornication will become rampant to such an extent that the father abuses his daughter in acts of indecency and incest, and the mother her son. Fornication between man, and between woman and woman will shamefully gain ground, and also the old and the young will abuse and rape the child. And all this will happen in front of every human being's eyes, but the legal authorities will hardly undertake anything against this and instead will impose insufficient and lenient penalties. Thus in time, the blood of families will become unclean through incest, for the evil will spread from bed to bed. And many illnesses and epidemics will spread through fornication, and thus human bodies will absorb all the earth's putrefactions, faces will look troubled, and limbs will be emaciated. It will not be spoken of true love any longer but of carnal and sexual love, whereby the word love will become the greatest threat for all those human beings who in regard to their self-cognition are only able to perceive through the flesh carnality equals relating to the physical and especially sexual appetites. When the prophet of the new time speaks of codex as well as oath and law, only a few loyal ones will gather around him, and most human beings will not want to listen to him. At first, only a few human beings will hurry to pursue the truth when he spreads the teaching of the Spirit, for to the many human beings his voice and teaching will go unheard as if in a desert. But contrary to this, the obscure and powerful waters of the world encompassing God cults, which are incorrect, delusional and fanatical, will spread. And the bogus and so-called messengers of God, godlike and exalted beings, masters, liberators, and kings of salvation will do their ruinous work through falsehood and fraudulence with deceitfulness, fanaticism, greed for gold and charlatanism, and will gather around themselves innumerable mindless believers. And many of the misled and fanatical believers will carry weapons as never before, and with these they will kill and murder countless numbers of human beings, while other fanatics will be driven by their delusional belief to seek to commit suicide as individuals, or in small or larger groups. During all of this the word of the prophet of the new time will go unheard as if called out in a desert, when he speaks of law, of the teachings of the truth and the Spirit, true love, peace, freedom, harmony and justice. And he will teach with scorching and sharp words that fallible human beings will incur their own punishment through their delusional campaigns. When the prophet of the new time comes, and human beings from the stars pay respect to him, a thunder of death will rise over the world, and deadly weapons will thunder in all countries. Fanatical human beings obsessed with terror, who will gather in large groups, will be pursued by legions of soldiers. Fear and terror will reign, and the mighty and powerful rulers of the countries will embrace the use of terror and turn into despots and tyrants. They will be all barbaric, disloyal, revengeful, evil and violent, while the deniers of the truth will carry on with their sinister doings in their cults' houses in the cities, and when the cults' powerful ones in the heart of the large city and the land of the boot will have the audacity to let themselves be worshipped as representatives of God, and as holy. These powerful ones lacking all knowledge of truth will have great power over their believers and will exploit them and lead them endlessly astray. And through these cults the time will come, when no regulations and rule will exist, and hatred and cult fanaticism will spread like a blazing fire around the world. Legions of soldiers and fanatics obsessed with terror will massacre innumerable innocent human beings, and the cult believers will persecute and strangle anyone who seeks and recognizes the truth. Hatred and delusional belief in God, vindictiveness, cruelty, mercilessness and vandalism will be a part of each and everybody. The world will reverberate from a powerful and merciless war cry, and cities will be destroyed, and the blood of human beings will flow in streams. And the reward for the prophet of the new time's exposure of truth will be, that he, as all prophets in all times, will not be recognized. He will be slandered, denied, his life treacherously threatened and attacked, and he will be slandered and hindered in spreading his words of truth by evil machinations. Also many evil persons, liars and frauds will steal his words of truth and his teaching, alter and falsify them in their favor as never before a prophet had to endure. The ones who lack any sense of honor will belittle his honor, lay claim to this honor themselves, and unlawfully gain a big profit from this. When the prophet of the new time begins his work, human beings will no longer search for the truth and no longer judge according to the truth, for influenced by the laws and beliefs of the God cults, they will only judge according to their own blood and their belief. Human beings will no longer listen to the complaints of old people, or to the crying of suffering children. Old people, women and children will be disrespected, the old ones will be hidden in houses for the aged, and women and children will be abused and driven to whoring. And nobody will be there to protect them, neither from slave drivers and pimps nor from legions of soldiers nor from the terror fanatics who will attack them. Hatred and vindictiveness will flood the earth, and human beings will live with the delusional belief of a doubtful peace, which they hope in vain to attain, for a worldwide war will inundate the earth and nobody will be spared, not the old, not the women and children, not the sick and the injured, and not the just and the peaceful. Legions of soldiers and terror fanatics will destroy houses and roam through countries and cities, and murder, sack, pillage and plunder, and will destroy and kill everything getting in their way. When one of them has left, the next one will appear and cause even more havoc. And the eyes of human beings will be kept shut in order to avoid seeing the abused and raped women and children. The prophet of the new time will know what has happened, happens, and will happen everywhere on earth. He will indicate that men, women and children in many countries are starving to death, that their bones break through their skin, and that inflamed eyes and open ulcers mark their bodies, offering a feast to masses of flies and other poisonous vermin. He will also point out that human beings are hunted like mangy dogs and rats, tortured and beaten to death, dismembered or put to death in some other way. Only a few will listen to him, for the majority of human beings do not want to see all the atrocities, and therefore they will turn their faces away and dismiss the words of the prophet. Yet he will be imperturbable, and will speak powerfully to carry his word of truth into the world. But only a few human beings will hear his voice in its full scope and align their thoughts and feelings with his words, because at the time of the prophet of the new time, the human being will be extremely hostile toward his fellow human being and life itself to such an extent that he will care only about himself. As alms he will give his fellow human being a tiny part of a split tallow while he sleeps on bags filled with gold and thalers. Yet even the tiny part of the split tallow which he give with the one hand, he will take back with the other hand manifold, for he will not give away anything for nothing. However, should the point of his giving not be for profit, then it will still be for the pacification of his guilty conscience. So in the new time the human being will make a business of everything, thus nothing will be given away without compensation. Each thing, even the tiniest, will have its price, the grass growing on the ground, the animal, the water, and even the human being himself who will be judged according to his performance. The exchange of goods will be abolished, and truly nothing anymore will be given away, for each and everything will be integrated into business and sold. And the human being will lose his individual value, namely, the value of being a human being, whereby his value will be only that of his possessions, and that of his body's weight of flesh and bones. Everything that makes him to be a human being will be taken from him, for nothing of him will be sacred any longer, neither his life, nor his thoughts and feelings, nor his body and blood. When he dies, not only will his material belongings become the object of dispute but also his mortal frame, his blood and viscera, for everything will have its price in this field in the new time as well. Thus human beings will be slaughtered like animals, and shredded and defiled like carcasses for the sake of their blood and viscera. The prophet of the new time will mourn, for the human being has altered and destroyed the face of the earth, and will be approaching